All right, thank you everybody for joining us here today for our weekly webinar. And the topic this week is the buyer's experience. And what first, a little bit about myself is that I've sat in both sales as well as I've been in a decision maker seat for approximately 18 years. And what I wanted to share today is some of the considerations that some of your buyers may be going through as they're making decisions to purchase with you, and some of the more common things that we experience and that you'll experience as you're talking with partners. So, what gets people to buy? There is hundreds of factors, thousands of triggers. But what we've been able to do is to reduce that into four different categories that are really can be pain points for people that you're talking with, for the actual decision maker that you are pitching to. What we know is that 85% of local businesses want to deal with a trusted local provider. So trust is certainly the first and foremost when it comes into entering your relationship. And I'm sure you experience that daily with the partners that you're dealing with. And what we know is that 85% of the buyers want to purchase from the trusted local expert. And that metric is even higher if you remove the word local. They want to purchase from somebody that they can trust. And the main thing is that, in my experience, is that I needed to trust the partnership that I was entering into, and that it wouldn't end poorly. For a decision maker, when they're making these decisions on purchasing a product, a service, or entering into a really intertwined partnership with you, is that these decision makers, it could mean, a poor decision for them could mean their career. Obviously, for entrepreneurs, that could mean it could affect their livelihood. So when we're dealing with them, they're certainly vetting us to the nth degree. Some of the things that they're going to be asking is obviously they're going to be reviewing you both online, but they're also going to be reviewing you against their colleagues as well. So, and to see if that trust exists in that aspect. And one of the experiences that I entered into that I'll share is that I was dealing with a $2 million opportunity, and the company that we had entered. The company that we had risen to the top of our process, checked a lot of the boxes that we were looking for. Ended up, we ended up not knowing a whole bunch. They weren't very reviewed. They were new to the scene, and but we really liked what we saw in terms of a platform or product. So we needed to vet the relationship a little bit more, and we ended up going out to their headquarters and wanted to get a good impression of who we're going to be partnering with, and who's going to be closely aligned to us for a certain period of time. So the story is that we went out. So we got to the airport, and first of all, the rep that we were dealing with came to pick us up, and first of all was a bit late, so that impression didn't necessarily work favorably for them. And when they were going to drive us to the hotel, he had a vehicle that it seemed like he may have owned a very large dog. So by the time that we got to the hotel, we were a little bit concerned, but still very excited to vet the relationship. Our hotels weren't necessarily booked, which was a commitment that they had made. And quite quickly, our team got together and decided that we needed to maybe write off the first point of contact in the rep, and we really need to focus our decision on the company. And at that point, the company didn't necessarily check out for us. So even if the product was strong, obviously in those instances, your buyer still has to trust in the company and the rep. So the three things that that we're looking for is trust in the rep. The point person that they're dealing with is the first point of contact. They're also going to vet the company, and of course, they want to ensure that the product's going to work for them. And a lot of things that are within the platform that are going to help with that is obviously being able to use the snapshot reports within the scope of the business to help vet some of those things. So the second thing that we look for, and more is really doesn't need to be said, but it's an increase to top or bottom line revenue, and that took a lot of different forms. But the two things that we found in terms of triggers for a lot of decision makers were certainly time, and time is the commodity that you just can't get back. So a lot of decision makers, their days are filled. Back-to-back meetings and different problems that they're facing within their business, and so time for them is certainly at a premium. And anything that can help them in terms of automation, and whether that is through prospecting, snapshot reports, and the hot leads within the platform, is going to help automate their process and save their teams and save them times in terms of being able to draw those reports out of the system. Labor savings was the second one as well too. So anything that could help take away any sort of labor costs and free up more time for their staff to work with their clients. And it's not necessarily a cut in labor per se. It's not taking out bodies out of the equation. It's just being for them to be able to repurpose that labor. It was really it'll add to that top or bottom line. So within the platform, obviously campaigns and hot leads will be the pain point that you're going to be able to resolve. Are you going to be able to resolve that pain point with that in particular? So you want to be having those discussions around that. That is going to be top and front and center with your partners, and so much so that your partners are probably creating processes that are going to try and improve their time. And I'm sure you've ran into that in terms of, what I had done previously as a buyer is that getting past the receptionist was very tough. But our receptionist had a bunch of boxes that we were consistently working on to check. So when we had somebody that was coming in with a potential solution to an issue, whether that was advertising or whether that was quite simply a solution that we were looking for in terms of equipment or otherwise, they would check those boxes. And if it went if it did check those boxes, it generally went to a senior member of a team that was going to vet that as well too. So you're almost going through two different types of people in a lot of companies to hit that decision maker's desk as you get into larger corporations. And the final piece is ROI. And again, it doesn't necessarily need to be said, but ROI, improved performance, generally comes in a lot of different forms. And ROI in a lot of these equations is your decision maker has to have the ability to prove back that the initiatives are working. If it's in a larger corporation, of course, that decision maker is likely answering to a CEO or a board, and the boards are answering to shareholders, etc. And you need to consistently prove why something is working or not working. Every penny in every in every budget is consistently being analyzed, and if we can't prove back the performance of the product, it certainly isn't going to be a long-term partnership. So one of the things that has been excellent to show within the scope of the system is our reporting on digital advertising. And throughout the platform, you're able to prove out ROI in different segments. And you're going to want to show those things consistently because You want to show the ROI on the given initiative, but B, it allows them to tweak the campaigns or tweak what they're doing to be able to improve the quality of what they're improve the quality of the ROI that they're generating throughout it. The reporting on digital advertising here is a strong statement. It's a statement where you're able to get that value per result, and it's showing, in essence, in this example, that $1,000 in investment is coming back in $4,400 in return. So when you're proving that out with your partners, you're able to show them some strong growth, and at the same time analyze these results with them so that they understand how they might be able to amplify that, and they might not have done that without proper reporting and understanding why something is working and why something isn't. And it's important to source out with those decision makers what those metrics are. It's so key in this day and age to be able to source out what that value per acquisition for them is. So to acquire the customer in particular, and what the good investment is for them to acquire that. So that is our shortened webinar here today, and I'm open to take any questions if there is any. So I've got a question here from Hannah, and Hannah's asking, what other types of ROI do I find valuable, and ones that aren't included in a digital advertising report? I guess it dovetails back to different types of, it really depends on the product in particular, but we certainly want to be able to answer. Again, it always comes back to one question that we're finding consistently, and that's cost of acquiring a new customer. You might need to coach the business on how much that's going to cost them. Sometimes there's a lot of businesses that don't know that, so you might have to dig into that with them to be able to figure out what that is, so that you can come back and generate an ROI report that is going to suffice to their needs and show them truly how the product is performing for them. Data is always a good friend. So anything that any sort of data that we can utilize when you're out talking to partners is key to helping to generate that. But within the platform, there's various different products outside of the digital advertising example. It could be in the SEO network report. It could be within reputation management. There's different forms of ROI that you can prove out through Partner Center. Sorry, I've got one more question here. I found the biggest challenge in showing how effective reputation management is working if customers are clicking on the review solicitation email but not necessarily leaving a review. Yeah. So thank you for the question. So that's a challenge to get them to leave that review. If there's some, if there's an ability to resolicit it without getting spammy, that would be ideal, but that's compelling the review is a little bit of a different nut. But you're certainly correct in the fact that your decision maker is going to be looking for that performance on it, and that's a metric as well too that you might want to show is that you have a lot of people activating on clicking if they're clicking on the review, but not necessarily leaving it. So they're showing some general interest. They just haven't necessarily they haven't had anything to say. Great. I'll leave you with one final thought here is that there's also Hannah asked some great questions here. There's also a theory out there as well too. Is called GPCT. So as long as you're always considering, and this is from a buyer standpoint, but it also works from the seller standpoint too. GPCTs is goals, problems, challenges, and timing. So as long as you're able to source out the decision maker's goals, goals plan, that the plan that they have to achieve those goals, and the challenges that they may face in doing that. And then, of course, their timing on doing that, you're going to more than likely leave with a resolution or solution if you're addressing those four things as well. So because that's what they're typically looking to address as well too when they're making, whether it's advertising decisions to utilizing a different system, in terms of generating their leads. They're always going to have those four things in mind as well. So if you're able to answer most of those, you're likely going to have success in selling the solution. Sometimes addressing some of the challenges are beyond the scope of what you can of what you can address within your solution, but you need to be aware of what those challenges are, because if you can help with them, you might be able to move the football, down the field a little bit. Well, excellent, guys. I appreciate you joining. If there's any questions offline, certainly reach out and be more than happy to answer them. I've been in all types of situations that way. So if you're having some difficulty, certainly feel free to reach out. Thank you for attending, and I look forward to the next webinar.